What's going on, Sports Wars? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost and GeeksGamers.com, and over the past several years, we have seen nearly every major sport, whether it's professional or college or the Olympics, with the exception pretty much of the UFC. Every sport has been taken over by people that are more concerned with social justice and identity politics rather than entertaining the audience. And the NBA has by far been the worst when it comes to that. And they have seen it hurt them the worst in their ratings. We have been talking about this for almost 2 years now. And Jaylen Brown, in this interview with the Undefeated, has perfectly encapsulated how clueless him as well as a lot of the other NBA athletes are. Jaylen Brown on why it's important for the Celtics and the NBA to hire African American head coaches. And when it comes to sports, this is truly the one thing that we still have, still had, that is a meritocracy. It does not matter what color you are. It doesn't matter who you want to fuck. It doesn't matter any of this shit, who your God is. All that matters is what you can do on the court, what you can do on the field, what you can do on the diamond. That's what your teammates care about. That's what the people in the stands care about. That's what the people watching from home care about. And when you make it about everything else, when you start saying, well, maybe this person isn't as qualified, but they have the right skin color, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's when you lose everything that is inherent to sports in the first place. You lose everything that made sports what it was to so many people. And we're going to read a little bit about this because he talks about how great it is that so many black coaches were hired regardless of if there were better candidates or not, simply because they were black. He also talks about social justice, so I want to get into this a little bit. Boston Celtics forward Jaylen Brown was ecstatic to see 7 new African-American head coaches, including one for his own franchise, get hired in the NBA this offseason, regardless of what the true motive may have been. This is the first sentence of this article. This interview is far-ranging, talks about a lot of stuff, but what do they start with? Social justice, identity politics, racial division. That's what the Undefeated, that's what ESPN wants to do. Whether it was because they were just trying to shut us up or because they actually believed it was the right thing to do, it don't matter to me. That representation is important. Brown, a 24-year-old African-American, told Undefeated. And that's giving people access and resources that they need and deserve to have, especially former players. They deserve to have a seat in ownership positions, a seat at the table too, especially in coaching positions, in-office positions, ownership positions. Those are important as well, especially if they're qualified. That's my argument. People may disagree, like they're not qualified, they're just getting the job because they're African-American. You've seen people say that in the media. Not in the mainstream media. You've seen people like us call it out here at Sports Wars, Black and White Sports. Outkick and maybe Fox News are probably the two of the only places I've seen mention anything about that you could consider, normal media types. But vast majority of them were celebrating. ESPN literally celebrated black coaches being hired. That's the tweet that they put out. They ignored the white head coach that had a new spot. They ignored Rick Carlisle. They only talked about the black coaches. What are you talking about? You've seen that in the media, you fucking nut job. And things like that, that's some shit. There's plenty of qualified African Americans and black people that can do their job, and they deserve to have a seat at the table. My question to you, Jaylen Brown, do you advocate the same thing for white players? Do you think it's important that we have equal representation of white players in the NBA? Shockingly, I don't think you'd think that's the case. I think you would probably rather there be less white players, if I'm just guessing. Don't know that for sure. I'm guessing that you want all of the coaches to be black, that you want all of the players to be black. That seems to be the end goal when it comes to these types of things. That it doesn't matter how overrepresented it gets, they just want more and more and more. So I challenge you, Jaylen Brown, if that representation is truly important to you, I want Jaylen Brown to call for equal representation, according to the population, of white people in the NBA. Because that's what Jaylen Brown is advocating for. He's not advocating for people, the best person to get the job. He said, well, these people are qualified too. They could get the job, but are they the best? That's what you want. That's what you want on your team, on the Boston Celtics. You want the best players you can possibly get. You're not just going to be like, well, you know what? this guy's a little bit better, but this guy's the right skin color, so we're going to take him. That's not how it works. That's not how people want to build their teams. The people that are watching don't care about that sort of thing. What they care about is what you do on the court and on the field. Absolutely insane. They talk about 13 black head coaches will start this season, are one short of the all-time high. And if you count James Borrego and Eric Spoelstra, half the NBA's head coaches are now people of color. But it's never going to be enough, right? It's not going to be enough. It will never be enough for people like Jaylen Brown and activists who only see skin color. I wanted to get to this part too because I cannot believe we're still talking about Jacob Blake. In the NBA bubble, you stood up in a players' meeting to offer support to the Milwaukee Bucks for boycotting a playoff game after African-American Jacob Blake was shot by a white policeman in Kenosha. Why was it important to you to voice respect for the Bucks amongst your peers? We are still talking somehow a year and a half later, I guess, maybe around that, a little over a year later, after Jacob Blake, who was proven to be a criminal, after it was proven that he had a weapon in the car, after it was proven that it was justified. This is a piece of shit. Jacob Blake is low-life criminal scum. Yet they are still, the people at ESPN and the NBA players are still lifting him up and celebrating him as if he is a hero. These people are fucked in the head. They truly are. Then he talks about, do you think the social justice movement momentum in the bubble continued through last season, or did it dissolve? A little of both in terms of popularity, but there are a lot of people that are doing work behind the scenes, people putting their money where their mouth is. Social temperatures have changed. So in terms of it being a trend, I've seen a lot of people that didn't care, were just posting things on social media just because that was popular at the time. 100%. He is right in that. 1000%. There was a lot of people who did not give a shit about this and were just doing it so they didn't get canceled. They felt peer pressure to kneel during the national anthem. They felt peer pressure to wear Black Lives Matter on their jerseys. Some of that bullshit. We know that to be the case. And then he goes and talks about this insanity. And this is the line that I thought was interesting. Just because I escaped some of the barriers that society has put up and reached a certain level of success doesn't mean I'm going to not care about the community I came from. Do you really think there are that many barriers for black players to get into the NBA? Is that what you're saying, Jaylen Brown? Look at the numbers. We've talked about these numbers. 75% of the NBA is African American. But no, you keep wanting to pretend like you overcame this great obstacle to get into the NBA when it's really all about talent. That's all it should be about. But no, they want to continue to bring social justice and identity politics and all of these things that are cancerous to the NBA. They truly are. People are done with the NBA. They're tuned out of the NBA while this stuff is still going on. But players like Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, woke losers like this will continue to push it time after time because they just don't get it. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.